sponsored by the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers Association. We honor, celebrate, support, and recognize the original inhabitants of Pasadena as we share the Los Angeles County Land Acknowledgement. The County of Los Angeles recognizes that we occupy land originally and still inhabited and cared for by the Tongva, Tataviam, Serrano, Kizh, and Chumash peoples. We honor and pay respect to their elders and descendants, past, present, and emerging, as they continue their stewardship of these lands and waters. We acknowledge that settler colonization resulted in land seizures, disease, subjugation, slavery, relocation, broken promises, genocide, and multi-generational trauma. This acknowledgement demonstrates our responsibility and commitment to truth, healing, and reconciliation, and to elevating the stories, culture, and community of the original inhabitants of Los Angeles County. We are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these ancestral lands. We are dedicated to growing and sustaining relationships with Native peoples and local tribal governments, including, and in no particular order, the Fernandino Tataviam Band of Mission Indians, the Gabrielino Tongva Indians of California Tribal Council, the Gabrieleno Tongva San Gabriel Band of Mission Indians, the Gabrieleno Band of Mission Indians, Kizh Nation, the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians, the San Fernando Band of Mission Indians. To learn more about the First Peoples of Los Angeles County, please visit the Los Angeles City County Native American Indian Commission website at lanaic.lacounty.gov. Now we hope that you'll take a moment to consider what you can do to acknowledge the realities of Native peoples where you live. We are proud to welcome to the stage your Toastmaster, Sarah Gailey. Sarah Gailey is a Hugo Award-winning and best-selling author of speculative fiction, short stories, and essays, including their most recent novel, Just Like Home, and most recent original comic book series with Boom Studios. Know your station.
Hello, my friends. I am so excited to be in this room with you celebrating the 59th Annual Nebula Awards, honoring the brightest lights that shine in genre fiction today. Being in this room with you is such a pleasure because tonight we have the opportunity to say the truest words we will ever speak to one another. Hot damn, don't you look amazing? You know who I'm talking to. I'm honored to be your Toastmaster this evening. Now, anyone who knows me well at all knows that I take toasting very seriously. And here's why. Toasting is a kind of magic. It is transformation, metusiosis. That is what we do when we toast. Metusiosis is a form of transformation. It is a changing of essence and inner reality. When you raise your glass and speak the words that are sacred to you, you change the essence of the drink within. And when you take a sip, you commit to changing your own inner reality. We use our words and ritual gestures to imbue our modest beverages with power and intention. You raise your glass to the people with whom you choose to break bread. And then you take a sip, and you feel yourself transform. This is a potion. Now, my friends also know that every time I raise a glass to toast, I toast twice in a row. The first toast is to joy and power and principle and transformation. The second toast is a lifelong promise. The first toast might be to Neil Gaiman's To Absent Friends, Lost Loves, Old Gods, and the Season of Mists, and may each and every one of us always give the devil his due. Or it might be one of the classic naval toasts I learned from my friend Max Gladstone. On Monday, our ships at sea. On Tuesday, our sailors. On Saturday, to our wives and sweethearts, may they never meet. On Sunday, to absent friends and those at sea. Classically, most often, my first toast is simply cheers to queers. So that first toast changes, but the second toast is the same every time. The language is strong because strength is necessary. The same two words, always. One of them is a swear. The other is an abomination. Fuck fascism. That second toast is a pledge. It is a battle cry. It is my personal commitment to fight the means and mechanisms of fascism with all my breath and all my power until one of us cannot fight anymore. It is a toast I share with my comrades who have fought and continue to fight this battle alongside me, and tonight it is a toast I share with all of you. Please, feel free to incorporate this toast into your own new and growing traditions. In a fight like this one, more is always merrier. However, if you are going to use this toast, it must always be your second toast, never the first. Fascism is a desperate, wretched, insecure ideology that puffs itself up to demand power and primacy in our lives, and we must never surrender to that demand. We must always remember the fight that we are in, but never at the expense of remembering what it is that we are fighting for. Fascism is antithetical to joy and courage and creativity. In the words of Miyazaki describing AI-generated art, it is an insult to life itself. We never accept the insult by allowing fascism to come first. Our joy comes first. Our values come first. So what comes first? What do we value? What do we care about so much that we are willing to bring our hearts and minds and bodies together for it? And with so many of the brightest lights in genre fiction arrayed before me, I know that we can get specific. I know in my heart that we can do that. It's not enough tonight to swear our intentions. We do that all the time. We can do better, because tonight, in this room, we are powerful, and we can flex that power together. The toast we make here tonight needs to anchor the qualities that are shared by the brightest jewels in the firmament of genre fiction. There's the kind of intricate world building that braids together language, poetry, food, interdependency, and diplomacy to breathe humanity into every corner of invented societies. There are characters who embody the transcendent thrills and torments of love and loss and grief and rebirth. There are translations that invite us to sink our hearts into stories that change our lives forever. There's prose that reminds us why language is a tool of infinite beauty and power. There are whales. There are so many whales. You guys love writing about whales. Please never stop. All those things stand on two legs and stride with tall posture through the greatest genre fiction, except for the whales, which wisely decided against the legs. But I can think of a quality that marks our industry beyond any of these qualities. And it's this quality that I think we should celebrate tonight. It's courage. I often say that working in this industry has taught me courage. It's people in this room here tonight who gave me the courage to perform I Believe in a Thing Called Love by The Darkness on the karaoke stage at Confusion in 2017. It's this industry and people in it who gave me the courage to sew my own gown for the Hugo Awards in 2018. It's friends in this industry who pulled me aside to say that I had forgotten to sew part of the gown and it was falling open to reveal part of me that no one wanted to witness. It's because of this industry that I have the courage tonight to stand up here telling all of you that I know how brave you can be. People in this room and watching at home have used their courage to fight for stories that have historically been strangled by the long-armed McCarthyist legacy of the Hays Code and the Comics Code Authority. I have witnessed you pursuing the kind of formal creative innovation that exists at the very edges of art and literature and film. The peers and colleagues I respect most have raised their voices to speak out against ethnic cleansing, genocide, and the state-sanctioned murder of civilians here at home and abroad, around the world. Over and over again, you have put your careers, reputations, and bodies at risk in pursuit of equality, justice, and compassion. I've watched as so many of us have chosen, time and again, to do what is right, turning away from what is easy, even when we are afraid, because that is what courage means, the pursuit of principle in the presence of fear. Principle, not belief. A belief is just a thing you think. It lives inside your brain, or maybe inside your heart if you believe it so much that you run out of room up top. You can harbor a belief in complete secrecy. A principle is what happens when we breathe life into our beliefs through our actions. Principles live in our words and our deeds, in our wallets and at our dinner tables, in how we treat our families and how we serve our communities. Principles require our courage, and our principles and our courage are alive in the stories we tell. That is what we are celebrating tonight. Innovation, dedication, craft, courage, principle. Tonight, together, we have the power to create a new tradition. So raise your glass, take a breath, Recognize the love that drives you and the fight that compels you. Know who you are and know what you are capable of becoming. With this toast, we transform to courage and principle. And fuck fascism. Now please join me in warmly welcoming SFWA President and Rita Award-winning author Jeffy Kennedy.
Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you to Sarah Gailey for being so very awesome, and to everybody who has worked so hard to bring us all together tonight. One of the perks of being SFWA president is that I get to choose the Grand Master for the year. And it is a process that is not completely fraught. I do not get to simply wave my wand and choose the person. This is my third year getting to choose the SFWA Grand Master. And each year I have gone through the spreadsheet of people who are eligible, suggested to me from many places, organized by birth year, because we try to get someone who has much of their literary career behind them, but who is still with us, because we do not give the award posthumously. At that point, I put the suggestion, my pick, through the email loop that consists of all of the past presidents of SFWA, which results in a variety of opinions on my choice. And those of you who know, know. In choosing this year's Grand Master, I was looking at the list and I thought back to my very early years as a reader, and remembering when I discovered the book called The Dark is Rising. And reading that book, reading that series of books by Susan Cooper was transformative for me, and I think transformative for many of us. It introduced the idea of evil in the world, that there is evil and that there is a way to combat evil. And that is a huge thing. When I put forward my suggestion that I would like to name Susan Cooper this year's Grand Master, one of the previous past presidents of SFWA said, how would it look for us to have chosen 2 children's authors in a row as Grand Masters? So we're going to leave aside the fact that this person was referencing that last year's Grand Master was Robin McKinley, who is not a children's author, right? We won't delve there. But to answer the question, how would it look if we were to choose 2 authors of science fiction and fantasy who write for younger people 2 years in a row? What does that mean for what we're saying about our genre? Well, I think it means that that's important. All of us started out as readers, and we started out reading the books that were meant for younger people, and we grew up from there. The Dark is Rising, all of Susan Cooper's amazing books helped to shape who we are now as creators. And we will be forever fighting the dark because of the things that she taught us. So I am thrilled to recognize this year's SFWA Grand Master, Susan Cooper.
Thank you. Especially to Jeffy, but to all of you for this amazing award. It's great to join a list of so many special writers. And I wouldn't be here if SFWA hadn't opened its arms to fantasy as well as science fiction back in 1991. So I'm grateful for that too. We're all family. I'm also thanking writers from way back, the people whose books I read when I was young. Words on a page are the best possible food for the imagination, which is why it's so desperately important to keep kids reading books in this age of pictures on screens. My own imagination was fed by people like Kipling, H.G. Wells, John Masefield, John Wyndham, among others. It was also fed by the bombs dropping on our heads in Britain during World War II, but that's another matter. I should also thank J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, not for their books, but for the way they taught English at the university where I was a student. They cut off our reading list at the year 1832. No novels, nothing modern. They were determined to soak us in medieval fantasy and myth. As a friend of mine said, they taught us to believe in dragons. And it worked. To come back to the present, I'm especially glad to be on the same Grand Master list as my dear, remarkable friend Ursula Le Guin. Our fantasies were rooted in different worlds, one real, one invented. But whenever we met, we could never stop talking. We belonged to the same family, like our books, like all of us here. Thank you, family.
Thank you, Jeffy, and congratulations to this year's Grand Master, Susan Cooper. It's our honor to bask in the glow of such a brilliant mind. And sitting beside that radiance makes me feel a connection to all of our ancestors who sat around cooking fires and spoke the very first stories into existence. They gathered by those burning circles of sacred light, cupped in the tender hands of the night, to make meals and share lessons, like don't touch fire. Or don't eat the mushrooms with gills on the underside, because remember what happened to your Uncle Dead Guy? Or don't forget to take love where you can find it. Generation after generation, we've repeated these stories to each other, creating our own firelit narrative chain. And we've used them to build a world together. Someone at your table probably told you one of their own stories tonight. I know it happened to me. And someone in the YouTube chat is probably going to share one right now. People in this room have told me stories that have sent my drink up my nose. We call that the devil's neti pot. And I have so many stories to tell you that I could not possibly get through them all, even in the lifetime of friendship I know we'll share. The stories we share help us remember who we are and show us who we're capable of becoming, how far we're capable of falling, and the heights to which we can strive. They're more than life lessons and cautionary tales about mushrooms, although, I mean, seriously, like, please do avoid wild mushrooms you can't identify unless you are accompanied by an official Verdance Ranger or you're a member of the Myconid Circle, and then you're fine. Stories can be an escape. They can be a refuge. They can be a call to action. They can be a primal, urgent scream. They burn inside of us, like the flames of our ancestors' fire, fed by the tinder of our dreams and the kindling of our experiences. And with the heat of that fire fueling our imaginations, we gaze up into the sky and out into the night, where we find ways to know the unknowable, speak the unspeakable, and breathe new worlds into being. Look around you, my friends. Tonight, here, now, this is our sacred circle. This is our campfire. The people next to you carry that fire with them into and through the darkness, surrounded on all sides by the endless embrace of possibility. Can you hear it in them if you listen? Now for the Kate Wilhelm Solstice Award. This award will be introduced tonight by SFWA Vice President and award-nominated author and engineer, John Murphy.
The Kate Wilhelm Solstice Award is given by SFWA for significant contributions to the science fiction, fantasy, and related genres community. The award was created in 2008, with Wilhelm herself among the 3 original recipients, and it was renamed in her honor in 2016. This year's honoree joins the ranks of distinguished Solstice Award recipients, community luminaries, including Cerise Rennie Murphy, Greg Bear, Petra Meyer, Arlie Sorg, Troy L. Wiggins, Ben Bova, and Rachel Kane. Isolated creators are a prey species, and community is our best defense. So we honor the folks doing the hard and often unsung work of bringing all us weirdos together as friends and colleagues. We honor those working to expand our community, to set an ever larger tabletop for an ever greater feast. Presenting tonight's award is Monica Valentinelli, an award-winning writer and narrative designer. Monica is celebrated in the gaming industry, where she's developed, designed, written, and edited dozens of role-playing games set in many beloved worlds. Please join me in welcoming Monica Valentinelli.
Over the course of 50 years, tonight's Solstice Award recipient, the late Janelle Jaques, has become a legend in the video game and tabletop industries. Often, she is remembered for designing the Caverns of Thracia and the H.G. Wells-nominated Dark Tower modules for Dungeons & Dragons. Her contributions in hobby gaming are so numerous. In 2017, she was inducted to the Academy of Adventure Gaming Arts and Design Hall of Fame. Her game design technique to facilitate a nonlinear and varietal player experience is forever known as Jaquezing a Dungeon. In video games, she was the director of game design for Coleco before moving on to become a level designer and artist for id Software, Ensemble Studios, and CCP, contributing to the Age of Empires, the Quake series, and other memorable titles. Janelle's talents surpassed pen and paper, bytes and pixels, for not only was she a game designer, artist, and sculptor, she was also a visionary who co-founded the Guildhall, a game design program through Southern Methodist University, helped found Old School, a video game publishing company, and established Dragon Girl Studios. What's more, Janelle's remarkable accomplishments were matched by her love of community. Working as the creative director for the Transgender Human Rights Institute, she helped successfully campaign to protect transgender youth. An outspoken human rights advocate, Janelle helped transgender and other queer people feel safe and welcome in our professional and personal spaces. Tonight, the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers Association is honored and privileged to present the 2024 Solstice Award to the late Janelle Jaques. Here to accept the award, commemorating her storied legacy, is another gaming legend. Please welcome Janelle's beloved wife and frequent collaborator, Rebecca Heineman.
What can I say that hasn't already been said? Janelle was always a storyteller. She's always had many different worlds that she created in her own mind and wanted to share these worlds. Hence why Jaquaising the Dungeon became a thing in a time when storytelling was just linear, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Dungeons and Dragons allowed you as a dungeon master and the adventuring party to just choose. Do you wish to go through the front door? Do you look for traps? Or do you get a shovel and dig under the door, hoping that you might find something interesting? So she approached her stories in the Dungeons and Dragons world by creating a world first, using Sumerian mythology for Caverns of Thracia, Egyptian mythology for Dark Tower, the established mythology of Forgotten Realms, and Halo Wars, and Quake. But in each way, she creates the world so you could tell your own stories. Because while she may tell stories, the real story is within yourselves. And she really wanted, in the way she told her stories, that whoever retells her stories tells them in new, exotic ways that are never twice the same. And this was the gift that she gave to all of us. And hopefully, it will be continued to be given. She created central casting, a set of books that allow you to create the backstories of your characters. Again, so that you can tell new stories because you now know the motivations of your own characters. Every one of these tales, every one of these stories is why I consider my wife telling stories now in the halls of Valhalla. And her loss is not just a loss to me, but a loss to the whole world, because I know she has more stories to tell. And I hope through me, I'll be able to continue telling her stories. And I accept this award on behalf. And I know she's looking down upon us, smiling, glad that she's been recognized for everything she contributed. And she hopes you accept her gifts lovingly. Thank you. It looks like a cookie.
Thank you, Rebecca. We honor Janelle tonight and celebrate her memory. Now, please join me in welcoming the Executive Director of SFWA, the two-time Hugo Award and World Fantasy Award-winning podcast director, narrator, and nonfiction editor for Clark's World magazine, Kate Baker.
Did you know that in the early days, movies shone black and white on silver? I mean this literally, not metaphorically. Screens were sometimes coated with metallic paint to make the images pop. As a matter of fact, you can still buy silver projection paint for your own home theater screens, although it's said that one clever projectionist in the 50s accomplished the same effect with fish scales, which suggests there's room for creativity. And this would also make a really great story, so writers in the room, get on that. Despite modernization, we still call movies the silver screen. Maybe because it sounds more glamorous. And maybe it's because we do love our alliteration, don't we? For example, The Two Towers, The Fantastic Four, Dungeons and Dragons, Barbie? Or maybe we say silver screen because, like mirrors, screens are designed to reflect. Movies confront us with our own faces, what we sometimes wish were our own faces, or, equally illuminating, what we fervently hope are not our own faces. It was a silver screen, the 1923 silent film, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, that first inspired a 3-year-old Ray Bradbury to write and fueled a lifelong love of script writing. Bradbury certainly knew about reflecting culture to itself. He famously called science fiction an idea that changes some small part of the world. And I think most of us hope that we can accomplish that with our writing, don't we? The Bradbury Award recognizes scriptwriters for productions such as motion pictures, television, internet radio, audio, and stage productions. This year's finalists have written us faces that shapeshift, weep, echo across multiverses, or importantly, deter human-eating parakeets. We bring the paint, but these writers make the silver screen speak. And it's a privilege honoring their work. The finalists for the Ray Bradbury Nebula Award for Outstanding Dramatic Presentation are Barbie by Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig. The Boy and the Heron by Hayao Miyazaki. Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves by John Francis Daly, Michael Giglio, Jonathan Goldstein, and Chris McKay. The Last of Us, Long, Long Time by Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin. Nimona by Robert L. Baird, Nick Bruno, Keith Boonen, Mark Hames, Troy Quayne, Pamela Rebon, Nate Stevenson, and Lloyd Taylor. Spider-Man, Across the Spider-Verse by Dave Callahan, Phil Lord, and Christopher Miller.
Thank you, Kate. And the Ray Bradbury Nebula Award for Outstanding Dramatic Presentation goes to Barbie. congratulations to the writers of Barbie. I loved watching them accept that award. All right, my friends, will you take a little journey with me? As you're able, will you place your hands on the table in front of you? Watch for the butter knives. Feel the cloth beneath your palms, the solid ground beneath your feet, the pull of gravity holding you firmly here and now. Breathe in this moment. And now let's get out of here. Let's venture together beyond the campfire light into the dark unknown together. What's out there in the wine-dark night waiting to be found? As we plumb the depths of infinite imagination, what stories are there waiting to be told? Will you start with the mountain that breaks the sky, or the way the rain feels as it slides down your arms? Will you ascend into the stars to unionize the workers that make the space stations run without falling to Earth? Will you find a way to sing with the whales? Admit it, you were thinking about whales. What if, whatever story you find in that darkness, what if you use it to ignite your audience's imagination with your own burning spark? What if you gave them a choice? What if you made them part of the story too? You take them to the tower where they bake bread and overthrow empires and do battle with dying gods. You bring them to the story and they make the story their own. You transport them, just as you transported yourself tonight, just now. You give them one more save, one more player, one more choice. Here to present the Nebula Award for Game Writing is speculative fiction and game writer, currently a Provost's Early Career Fellow at the University of Texas at Austin and a core host of the Writing Excuses podcast. Please welcome Aaron Roberts.
All right, everybody, let's play a game. Not really, actually. We don't have time for that. Though, if you want to turn to the person closest to you and do a little rock, paper, scissors under the table, I will not be mad at it. But those 4 words, let's play a game, think about the way they made you feel. For a lot of us, there's an immediate response. You perk up, you lean in, you get excited or nervous or curious. Why? Because games make us a participant in the story. They engage us, but more than that, they need us. They rely on us to be a part of the narrative, to create a character or inhabit one, to make choices, to deal with consequences, to take part in the journey that they've made possible. They put some of the power of story in our hands and create the worlds and experiences that make us feel lucky to be able to use it. The writers that we are acknowledging and honoring tonight have not only created interactive, collaborative, and immersive worlds for us to play in, they've made them powerful, impactful, and honestly, just plain fun. Whether we're joining a party of adventurers, deciphering languages, surviving the horrors around us, or fishing them out of murky waters, bringing space opera to our tables, or baking for necromancers, like you do. Thank you to all of you for bringing your games to our lives and giving us a part to play in your incredible narratives. And with that, the finalists for the Nebula Award for Best Game Writing are
Alan Wake 2, by Seneca, Anala, Tyler Burton Smith, Sam Lake, and Clay Murphy. Baldur's Gate 3, by Adam Smith, Adrian Law, Baudelaire Welch, Crystal Ding, Ella McConnell, Ina Van Ham, Jan van Dosselier, John Kokorin, Kevin Van Ord, Lawrence Schick, Martin Doherty, Rachel Quirk, Rory Moore, Sarah Bayless, Stephen Rooney, and Swen Vink. The Bread Must Rise, by Stuart C. Baker and James Beeman. Chants of Sinar, by Julian Moya and Thomas Panuel. Dredge, by Joel Mason. Nine Fox Gambit, Machineries of Empire role-playing game, by Yoon Ha Lee and Mary Brennan.
They're so awesome, y'all. But only one may win. And so with that, the Nebula Award for Best Game Writing goes to, Lordy, Baldur's Gate 3.
Everyone has already spoken so well. People have said the things I would say normally already. This game was a monumental effort by hundreds and hundreds of people. I know we named a lot of people already there. Everybody contributes to the narrative on a game like this. There were hundreds of them in Larian, our actors outside of Larian, our partners outside of Larian, our families and friends who supported us, and then the people who played it. They tell the game with us. We made it for them. And they taught us how to tell better stories. I'm getting emotional, sorry. But also, I wanted to say, this doesn't exist unless I dug around in the attic and found my dad's sci-fi books that I wasn't supposed to read because I was too young. There were other things there as well that I wasn't supposed to read. But it's actually the sci-fi books I went back to. It doesn't exist if I don't get the book bag here that had random books in it that I will now read, and they'll inform me. Every single thing we see, that we read, that we watch, that we hear, if it's a story on a table next to you in a cafe, sometimes it all goes in, and it all comes back out again, and it makes us better storytellers. That's it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Immense congratulations to everyone who worked on Baldur's Gate 3. And now, please welcome SFWA's Deputy Executive Director. She's also a short story writer and a graduate student at the University of Hawaii. Please welcome with me Tara LeMay.
Thank you, Sarah. SFWA is a volunteer-driven public charity, and it could not exist in its current form without the hard work of hundreds of people who serve countless hours behind the scenes to carry out the programs and services that this organization conducts in pursuit of its mission. The Kevin O'Donnell Jr. Service to SFWA Award recognizes just one of these volunteers each year who best exemplifies the ideal of service to their fellow members. This year's Service to SFWA Award recipient is James Hosek, who served as Nebula Awards Commissioner from 2017 until last year, when he became too unwell to continue in the role. The Nebula Awards definitely would not exist without the tireless work of the Nebula Awards Commissioner. It's hard to convey to someone who has never served as the Nebula Awards Commissioner what a challenging and time-consuming and often thankless job that it can be. The Nebula Awards Commissioner must be hardworking and thoughtful with a keen attention to detail. They must hold themselves to a high ethical standard while making scrupulously fair, consistent, and very fast decisions that rarely please everyone. They need to be kind and compassionate and responsive to an enormous number of questions and concerns from members and the public, while at the same time, they are inundated with last-minute ballot submissions that need to be vetted for eligibility before an extremely time-sensitive deadline. To succeed at all of this, they must care deeply about an award that they are not eligible to receive while they hold office. Jim Hosick exceeded this standard in every way each and every year that he served as Nebula Awards Commissioner. He was kind, thoughtful, and always ready to step in and help when needed. Jim passed away last year, a few short weeks after we notified him that he'd be receiving this award. We will miss his kind smile and generous heart. Here to accept the award on his behalf is Jim's twin brother, Rich Hosick.
Thank you. I apologize right away, I'm gonna cry. This award honors Jim's service to the Nebula Awards. But I can tell you, that's not why he did it. He lived for helping people, and he did so in many ways. For all he did for SFWA, he did 10 times as much for his family and community. He's always there to care for someone's pet, lead the local Boy Scout troop, and was the man in the house on the block that gave out full-size candy bars at Halloween. So that makes what all he accomplished here all the more special. And I think it was because the Nebula Awards offered him something he didn't get from any other part of his life, the chance to mingle with fellow writers and fans and enjoy their fellowship. But he also really liked the free books. Jim loves science fiction. I know this because I inherited his collection of every back issue of fantasy and science fiction, Asimov's and Analog and many others, including boxes and boxes of them, including the issue of Analog that includes his story, Total Loss. If you get a chance to read it, it's quite a funny story about a man who gets into an accident and is declared total loss by his insurance company. Not his car, him. The insurance adjuster decides that the value of his life is exceeded by the cost of his care, and there is no logical alternative but to try and recoup their losses by selling off his body parts. Of course, that would have never happened in the case that the patient in the story was Jim. Anyone who knew him would agree. The value of his life was priceless. He was invaluable in so many ways to so many people, as a husband and father, as a brother and son, and a friend and volunteer. I know he is here with us tonight. We wouldn't miss this for anything. This conference and the Nebula Awards were the highlight of his year. I remember when he told me he was put in charge of the awards. And I can tell you for a fact that gifting him with that awesome responsibility was all the honor he ever needed. That and the free books. Being here, I know why, beyond his love for science fiction, he devoted so much time and energy to help making these awards as amazing and astounding as possible. It's the people, the community, the friends he made, and the free books. Thank you for recognizing his accomplishments and services. Thank you for granting him this legacy. As writers, I know you put a little piece of yourselves in every story you write. Jim did the same. So I hope you'll visit jameshosick.com and sign up for his mailing list so I can share with you the bits of himself he left behind. And if you knew it all, please come and say hi to me afterwards and tell me stories of him. I'd love to meet everyone who made the Nebula Awards so special for Jim. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rich and Tara. We join together in recognizing Jim's service to SFWA, and we honor his memory. The thing is, the light we see from stars today comes to us from light years away. It's made of memories and minerals. It's filtered through time and immense distance. And when we look to the stars, we often see the glow of blazing giants that are already long vanished by the time their light reaches us. Their presence in the night sky serves as an enduring reminder of the incredible celestial bodies that once were, and the way their beauty can reach us across the most unfathomable of distances. As we gather here tonight, we celebrate those who came before us and those we lost too soon. Thank you to the guiding lights and shining stars who have made our community stronger. The stars have always guided and shaped us. We build stories on them. We use them to explain ourselves to each other. We study them, taking pictures and developing telescopes that help us to better comprehend the universe. We reach out into space to understand. We tell stories of the stars and imagine brighter futures. The universe spreads out before us in vast and infinite dimensions, and that infinity includes so much more than hope and imagination. It includes memory, and it includes the profound pain of loss. We look to the stars to remember those who have gone where we cannot follow. They burn bright in our memories. And as a tangible expression of this loving legacy, it is now time for us to present the Infinity Award. The SFWA board created this award to posthumously honor acclaimed creators who passed away before they could be considered for our Grand Master Award. The Infinity Award recognizes that while some of our celebrated world builders, storytellers, and weavers of words are no longer with us, their legacies continue to inspire us all. And tonight, it is our great privilege to honor Tanith Lee. Now, Tanith Lee was a genre-crossing, award-winning trailblazer whose 90 novels, and 300 short stories shaped the paths of generations of writers. In her honor, and at the request of her family, SFWA has made donations to Pasadena Humane and the Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Foundation. Now, for the presentation of tonight's Infinity Award, please welcome back to the stage SFWA President Jeffy Kennedy.
I swear we're almost done with the sad part of the ceremony, but not quite yet. So it wasn't enough for me to get to pick the SFWA Grand Master. I wanted to be able to pick someone who had been passed over in years past. And so 2 years ago, the SFWA board agreed to create a new award, the Infinity Award, for people who had been passed over for various reasons. We know that things happen. Someone is not recognized during their lifetime because they are following a different path. Perhaps they are the wrong color. Perhaps they write a little too queer to be recognized, maybe a little too romancy, maybe a little too whatever. Maybe they pass before we can recognize how amazing they were. I've been reading Tanith Lee all of my life, as many of us have. She accomplished so much and was maybe not recognized as much as she should have been during her lifetime. Julie C. Day, who is the editor of the upcoming anthology, Storyteller, a Tanith Lee tribute anthology, which will be coming out from Essential Dreams Press in 2025, says, Tanith Lee was a change agent during her lifetime. She was unerringly focused on what she saw as possible rather than the world of books, the world of genre, the world she physically inhabited, reflected back at her at any particular moment. She saw those at the margins of natural protagonists with all the agency that implies. She approached creative endeavors not as a specific type of story, but more as a dream or a vision. She felt compelled to manifest in the world. She was not quiet in her fiction or her life. And looking around at all the strong and unique contemporary authors who claim her as theirs, that dynamic energy called legacy is still very much at play. We're talking a lot tonight on the theme of fighting the dark, of finding our own paths, of finding our own way. Sometimes the things that we create are not the things that people will pay us for. Perhaps they're not the things that people will celebrate us for in the moment. But we all have to follow what's in our hearts. This is part of our job, paid or unpaid, as creators. Tana's partner, John Kane, sent this for me to read. Hello to everyone here, and thank you to all involved in this wonderful project. It means a lot. For all of the 5 working decades worth of genres that Tanith wrote in and inspired, from fantasy, science fiction, horror, sword and sorcery, young adult, detective, steampunk, queer/gay fiction, historical, mythological, heroic fantasy, children's, dark fantasy, supernatural, contemporary comedic gothic, high gothic, psychological, Victorian gothic, space opera, surreal, spiritual, metaphysical, contemporary gothic, television and radio, folklore, legendary, darker than dark, Holmesian, Gothic romance, industrial, and endless overlapping cross-genre-ings long before it became fashionable or profitable, and more. For all of those genres, there was only one thing that Tanith couldn't write, and that was badly. She would have appreciated this award so very much. I can imagine her smiling and giving you all a little wave of thanks, and knowing her, most probably raising a glass as well. So thank you all once again on behalf of us both. It is very much appreciated. Oh, and she did like applause. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeffy. And now, I hope you all join me in my own thrill in welcoming literary agent, magazine editor, and former Kate Wilhelm Solstice Award recipient, Arlie Sorg.
Hello. For me, short fiction is the heartbeat of literature. The short fiction format is where some of the most interesting innovations happen, and many authors use it to test ideas or practice skills. To me, writers who can fill readers with powerful emotions within the confines of a few thousand words are the most impressive artists in the industry. I think of Ken Liu, whose story, The Paper Menagerie, had so many readers absolutely bawling. or literary geniuses like N.K. Jemisin, who often play with ideas in brilliant short stories before developing longer works. On his website, Tochi Onyebuchi says, "Short stories are tough as hell to write. All the more reason to celebrate the hard work, the talent, the prowess, and the creativity of excellent short fiction writers." To that point, the finalists for a Nebula Award in the short fiction category are
Once Upon a Time at the Oakmont by P.A. Cornell. Tanty Merle and the Farmhand 4200 by R.S.A. Garcia. Window Boy by Thomas Ha. The Sound of Children Screaming by Rachel K. Jones. Better Living Through Algorithms by Naomi Kritzer. Bad Doors by John Wiswell.
And the winner for a Nebula Award in the short fiction category is R.S.A. Garcia.
Not R.S.A. Garcia. I'm reading her speech for her. This is awesome. If this is being read, then shockingly, my story about a little old woman, a stubborn goat, and the bot that changes their lives has somehow won the Nebula over some of my favorite stories last year. For the extraordinary honor of being the first Trinidad and Tobago-born author to win a Nebula, I thank the members of the SFWA. I thank every reader who loved and embraced this story and reached out to tell me so. I thank Uncanny Magazine for sending it out into the world, and my family and friends for supporting me over 20+ years of working my way through this industry to this wonderful outcome. I especially want to thank my sister, Andrea, an incredible writer in her own right, but also my best friend, biggest fan, and caretaker through one of the most difficult challenges life can throw at someone. I truly would not be the writer I am without her encouragement and insightful beta reading. I beat cancer with good public health care and the loving support of friends and family, and it was family and friends that led to Tanty Merle. I wanted to write a story that celebrated not only some of the best traits of my culture and people, but humanity as well. In these hard, dark times, I wanted to remind people that we are all worth loving, worth saving, and worth treating as human beings. Thank you for taking that message to heart. I hope we can all find it within ourselves to continue to live it going forward. Congratulations to all my fellow finalists and winners, and I hope you all have an amazing night. Thank you.
So here now, this is how it happened. Was years after Malcolm passed through and washed away a lot of we little island coasts and mash up so much of Florida and Texas and them places. And people say they ain't waiting for no next storm like that one. And they pack up their things and went England and Canada and all over. I don't know. And my children was living in Germany and Kenya, and my youngest was down in Australia, way hotter than here. So I didn't see no point in going from where I lived my whole life. My Lincoln bury here, and we house good and strong. My oldest, Suzanne, she send money for me regular, and Lincoln like new thing, just like me. So he fixed up the house and fixed up the house until even that monster storm only cost me some windows and a little mason work on my concrete roof from what they call impact debris.
Congratulations, R.S.A. Garcia. Incredible. 3 weeks ago, bear with me, a rare species of deep-sea anglerfish, Himantolophus sagamius, the Pacific football fish, washed up on the shores of the Oregon coast, and only 31 total specimens of this species have been documented in human history. 31. We see them so rarely because deep sea anglerfish aren't made for daylight. They spend their lives in total darkness. They don't miss the light or long to return to it. They produce their own luminescence. That same unknown expanse of darkness surrounds us. My friends, tonight we have ventured far from our firelight, deep into the night, into space, into realms and dimensions beyond our sight and understanding, into grief. And yet still, we haven't ventured into a darkness as heavy and profound as the one that anglerfish inhabited for its entire life. Imagine being in that endless void of deepest black and then making your own little light, a lure to draw in your prey, a light that nourishes you in all that cold and all that dark. That little light is a story untold. You create it yourself to survive in the unknown darkness of existence because you and I, unlike the anglerfish, aren't made to live in that darkness. We create our own little lights, not to draw in prey, but to draw in understanding. You find the bones of a dinosaur in your backyard and you create a little light that asks, is that a dragon? Or you hear about the Perseverance rover rolling into a crater and you create a little light that investigates, could that be an ancient lake bed? We burn to know the answers to our questions, so we make our little lights. We research, we investigate, we tell stories, we stretch and dream and create. There is so much we don't understand. But together, we create images on a screen, pictures in a comic, words on a page that reveal to us new worlds, and give us new truths to incorporate into our lives. So to present the Nebula Award for Novelette is the author of the Kangaroo science fiction spy thriller novels. Please join me in welcoming Curtis Chen.
Hello. This is a lot. But I'm very happy to be here, very happy to be here with all of you. I am Curtis Chen. I'm the former secretary of the board of SFWA, and I'm here to present the Nebula Award for Best Novelette. And this year's finalists feature deep explorations of themes including mutual aid, the nature of art, the value of work, furniture, the devil, and above all, the undeniable power of storytelling. But before we move on, can we just talk about the elephant in the room for 1 second? The name of this category, a novelette, it's really an outdated term, right? It's a story that was of a length between 7,500 and 17,500 words, right? Fun fact, the suffix "et," E-T-T-E, comes from the French language, and originally it indicated the feminine gender, because French, and later it was conflated to be a general diminutive. And it's like, really, France? Hashtag problématique. That is French. So let me just give you some other examples of how this is used. So Bachelorette, like the TV show, problematic for other reasons too. Smurfette, that's a whole nother convention. Majorette, if you were in marching band like I was. Kitchenette, cigarette, discette, some of you young folks might not know. And for me, the freshest hell is using "et" to mean an imitation or a lesser substitute, like leatherette, apparently. Hashtag, I blame the patriarchy. You could just say you hate women, Jacques. I mean, they're all choosing the bear anyway. But look, it doesn't have to be like this. I'm here to say, let's stop the madness. I'm challenging all of us here, all of us online, to do better, to find new, more descriptive terminology that helps everyone. I'm just spitballing here, so it's not a novelette, it's a supersized short story, right? Right? Or it's a tight-ass novel. Okay, not that one, I heard it too, sorry, not that one. Okay, how about this? How about something you can only submit to like 5 markets ever, and 2 of them are usually closed? Okay, that one is a bit long. I'll give you that. We're still workshopping it. Feel free to send your own suggestions in to SFWA. Anyway, back to the award. These are all amazing stories, and they are not too long, unlike this intro. And the finalists are...
A short biography of a conscious chair by Renan Bernardo. I Am AI by I. Cheong. The Year Without Sunshine by Naomi Kritzer. Imagine, Purple-Haired Girl Shooting Down the Moon by Angela Liu. Saturday Song by Wale Talabi. 6 versions of My Brother Found Under the Bridge by Eviania Trien de Fidu.
All right, I have the envelope. I'm going to be a rebel and do it like Carson. It's not my day job. And the Nebula Award goes to Naomi Kritzer.
Thank you so much. I am incredibly honored by this. Let me get out my speech. I wrote a speech because my mind goes blank in moments like this. So this story meant a lot to me, and I've been really, really moved by how many people have responded to it. I would like to thank my husband, Ed Burke, for always believing in me and supporting me, and the members of the Weirdsmiths Writers Group. I would also like to thank Hadar Copley-Woods, Betsy Lunston, Christy Ann Cox, Marissa Lingen, and Sigrid Ellis, all of whom are subject matter experts on disability, who generously offered feedback to me on the many iterations of this story that it went through as I worked on it. Part of the inspiration for this story was listening to disabled friends talk about this classroom activity that was all the rage in the 1980s, the bomb shelter exercise, where you got a list of people, like hypothetical, fictional people, and you had to whittle it down by half of who would get to be in the bomb shelter after a fictional nuclear war. And I know to the younger people in this audience, this probably sounds utterly unhinged, but I did this at least twice in school as a Gen Xer. And it was as messed up as it sounds. And I heard a lot of disabled friends talk about their experiences as kids in school, like listening to people say, well, obviously, the disabled people are out. And I wanted to tell a story where the reason everyone survives is because they come together to support someone who needed help surviving. And it's not because the person they helped conveniently turned out to be the brain surgeon that they desperately needed at the end or anything like that. I wanted it to be a story about how coming together for mutual aid saves the community. I sent this story to Uncanny, and I want to thank the editors, Lynn and Michael Thomas.
But I sent it to Uncanny because I knew they had more subject matter expertise that once again made this a stronger story. The Uncanny editors, Lynn and Michael Thomas, were the parents of a really lovely young woman named Caitlin, who died in April. Caitlin was an absolute light in the world. She was someone who had the gravitational pull to create a community of caring that made fandom a better place. And this story was not specifically about Caitlin, but it exists in part because of Caitlin. And I would like to dedicate this award to Caitlin's memory. Thank you all so much.
During one of the much smaller disasters that preceded the really big disaster, I met a lot of my neighbors online. I can't remember if we set up the WhatsApp group because of the pandemic, or the civil disorder, or both. My Minneapolis block had always been reasonably friendly. People would take their kids around on Halloween, and I knew the names of my next-door neighbors. But everyone on the WhatsApp group got closer. When the internet and cell phones went down, my next-door neighbor to the north, Tanisha, built a little booth in her yard out of plywood, with corkboard inside and a roof, and painted "What's up" on the outside, so people could leave each other messages inside. When I went in the first day to check it out, people were already posting up notes asking to swap stuff. Coffee for condoms, cat food for diapers, a bike repair for a plumbing repair.
Congratulations, Naomi Kritzer. And now, please join me in welcoming to the stage via video the Nebula, World Fantasy, and Aurora Award-winning Indo-Caribbean scientist and speculative fiction author, Premi Mohammed.
I'm Premi Mohammed, and I am honored to be presenting the finalists for the Nebula Award for Best Novella. I write short stories, I write essays, I write novels, but by the end of this year, I'll have 13 books in the world, and 8 of them will be novellas. I've also won awards only for novellas. It's really starting to look like I should stop telling people I'm a novelist and start telling them I'm a novellaist. But I'm afraid that's going to get me even weirder looks than when I tell people I'm a writer, so maybe not. I like working at the novella length. I like the challenge of making sure it's not an artificially inflated short story or a cruelly pruned novel. I like saying, this is going to be a novella when I start, and having it fit into the gaps of frustration and time and energy. And I like readers who tell me I tore through this in a single sitting, which of course is what Edgar Allan Poe tells us is the immensely important effect of a unity of impression. For, if 2 sittings be required, the affairs of the world interfere, and everything like totality is at once destroyed. This year's finalists exemplify this effect. From fresh new fairy tales to haunted subdivisions, from mysteries in space to families torn apart in worlds other than our own, they show us the enormous scale, breadth, and depth that's possible in these meticulously crafted little books. Congratulations to you all, and best of luck. The finalists are
The Crane Husband by Kelly Barnhill, Ling Wen by I. Zheng, Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher, Untethered Sky by Fonda Lee, The Mimicking of Known Successes by Malka Older, Mammoths at the Gates by Ni Vo,
And the Nebula Award for novella goes to I. Zheng. Congratulations. Thank you.
Wow. So this book would not exist if not for all the kind hearts who have touched my life and believed in my writing. And I wrote this during a time when I was forced to be alone with my thoughts, when the darkness seeping through matched the light I did not see outside while I wrote down each word. To all my flashlights who have guided me through the dark, to all those who have lost someone, someplace, a language, a home, to those who are mourning and who remain in timeless grief, and to those who have, chosen with reluctance to move on. You are not alone. Thank you, and thank you again to my family and my spouse for your faith and patience, to everyone in SFWA for your kindness, support, and honor.
When I stumbled, dizzy and carsick, into the kitchen to find Mother unpacking. Her eyes dart everywhere rather than focusing on the task at hand. Bowls and plates litter the island, the dining table, and the edges of the sink. Cupboards sit open, empty. Father stands next to her, rubbing a hand across his stubbled chin, running a finger along a growing shadow of a mustache. His other hand rests against the sink, twitching, not knowing where else to place it or what he should be doing with it. The agent said it might take a while before he appears, Mother says in a feverish whisper, fixing her hair the way she used to right before leaving for a job interview. Before we got the house, she worked in a travel agency downtown. But that didn't last long. Mother said there was a new coworker who too closely resembled what my brother would have looked like as an adult.
Congratulations, Now, most of us in this room are adults, or at least like to think of ourselves that way. And we carry the brightest lights we can as we move through the world. But much brighter lights are yet to come. Children around the world stare boldly into the darkness, confronting the fears and injustices that look back at them. They build courage and principle into their lives in the places where their predecessors have succumbed to greed and cowardice. They fight for the right to read freely, to love freely, to express themselves as the people they truly are. They fight for clean air and water, for free access to adequate nutrition, for the right to go to school and walk down the street without fear of violence. They fight against genocide and the prison industrial complex and climate collapse, and they are children. They should not have to fight, but they do it every single day. They fight for each other, and they fight for all of us. The brightness in them burns so powerfully that it lights a way forward into a future that is better than the world we know now. They make that future. And sometimes, all it takes to ignite those growing lights inside of them is the right story. The rich legacy of genre fiction for young readers represents an endless shower of sparks falling into the minds and hearts of children around the world and across generations. When we write for them, we write into the future of the world they will create. So our next award is for those who most deeply respect young readers and create wonderful, terrible, cruel, kind, complex worlds for them. Here to present the Andre Norton Nebula Award for middle grade and young adult fiction. please join me in welcoming to the stage the Emmy Award-winning writer and director best known for Dark Crystal: The Age of Resistance, and her acclaimed transmedia adaptation, dear to my heart, The Lizzie Bennet Diaries, Margaret Dunlap.
All right, I did some looking into this, and the attribution is somewhat murky, but allegedly it was Peter Graham who first replied to the question, what is the golden age of science fiction, with the quip, 13. Is this answer flippant? A bit. Is it dismissive of the genres that we are here to celebrate tonight? That argument could be made. I, however, will not be making it. To the contrary, I will argue that it contains the seed of a profound truth. Because for many of us, the stories we hold closest to our hearts, perhaps the ones that put us on the path that led us to being here tonight, are the ones that we found, whether through kindness or through fate, before we were old enough to drive. Certainly, we have all read and loved books as adults, but I am talking about the cherished hardcover that has come with us on every cross-country move, or the out-of-print paperback that we scour used bookstores for so we can replace that lost or perhaps disintegrated copy. The book that we buy extras of so that when we meet the right young person, we can loan it to them and hope that it might spark in them what it once sparked in us. But every generation finds their own stories. And tonight, even as we speak, the words of our finalists are being read after lights out, or when someone really ought to be doing homework, or in the back of the car, even though that did not work out well last time, but the need to know what happens next will not be denied. And let's not forget also that these books are being read on commuter trains, or with a glass of wine, or in a snatched moment after the kids have gone to sleep. Because it turns out we are never too old to be changed by a story. So now, please join me in recognizing 4 authors who have taken on and surmounted the awe-inspiring challenge of crafting masterful works of fiction for 13-year-olds of all ages. The finalists for the Andre Norton Nebula Award for middle grade and young adult fiction are
To Shape a Dragon's Breath by Moniquel Blackgoose. The Inn at the Amethyst Lantern by J. Diane Dotson. The Ghost Job by Greg Van Eekhout. Liberty's Daughter by Naomi Kritzer.
And the winner is Moniquel Blackgoose.
Wanakwea Wani Nogish Kawad Kronk. Good evening. It is good to be here with you. As an Indigenous woman, this award holds immense significance for me. Not just the recognition of my work, but the celebration of the richness and resilience of Indigenous storytelling traditions. The apocalypse happened in my neighborhood around the year 1620. I've lived my whole life in a post-apocalyptic world. When I was a kid first cutting my teeth on SFF, there was practically no representation of Indigenous people as characters. Indigenous people were treated as already tragically extinct. When we appeared at all, it was as aliens or elves, caricatures wearing beads, braids, and buckskins. I learned early on that if I wanted to see my people, my culture, and myself in SFF, I'd have to write it. I needed to do that so that other kids wouldn't be faced by the cavernous lack that I felt as a child and a teen. I'd like to thank the Indigenous elders, ancestors, and storytellers whose wisdom and legacy continue to guide and inspire me, and the others carrying on the tradition today. Shout out to Rebecca Roanhorse, Darcy Little Badger, and Sherry Dimmelane, especially for their own speculative works. I'd also like to thank the Seekonk Wampanoag tribe, who are right now fighting for legal recognition by the state of Rhode Island. Thank you once again for this incredible honor. I accept this award with a profound gratitude and a renewed commitment to amplifying Indigenous voices in speculative fiction. Tobatni, thank you.
First, there was the evening before the morning. I was gathering mussels on Slipstone Island when I saw the dragon. I'd never seen a proper dragon before, but there was no mistaking it for anything else. It had come walking out of the scraggy stand of pine trees at the base of the Temple Mound and was standing on the rocky hillside, looking out to sea. It was red and gold and glorious with the evening sun behind it, like a hillside in autumn. From nose to tail, it was twice as long as my canoe, and from wingtip to wingtip, 3 times as long. It had a crown of antlers that must have come to 30 points or more. It stretched its wings, and the sun came through them, showing the scarlet net of its bloodworks. It had a long, sinuous body, like an otter or a fisher. Its neck, double curved, like a heron's.
Here to present the award for novel, the Nebula Award for novel this year, is the cast of the Writing Excuses podcast.
This is the Nebula Award for Best Novel. 40,000 words or 150 pages long because you're not in a hurry and these books are exceptionally smart. Tonight we celebrate the long-form stories that captured our imaginations and expanded our minds.
The Latin word novel means new, and it's the etymological root of English words like renovate and supernova. It's also the English word for a particular type of book, which might contain new ideas or renovated concepts, or perhaps a powerful, radiating brilliance, which might fairly be compared to the birth of a star.
The best thing about books is that you can read something you're not ready to read.
A novel's about perspective, your perspective. Things you can't communicate using just simple words. Things that are complex enough that you have to tell us a story about it. Because fiction is about connection. It's communicating ideas, sharing an experience, and sharing something more profound than even a conversation can.
Novels also give us new perspectives, new ways to understand, appreciate, and challenge the world we all share. When we seek the strength to fight oppression, the courage to resist evil, and the creativity to find new and better paths forward, so often we find them in the pages of a book. In their new technology and old magic, beloved characters and unbearable tension, deeply felt moments of grief, joy, and awe. There's life in these pages, and it has been our privilege and pleasure to get to enjoy them. The finalists for Best Novel are
The Saint of Bright Doors by Vajra Chandrasekhara. The Water Outlaws by S.L. Huang. Translation State by Anne Leckie. The Terraformers by Annalee Newitz. Shigidi and the Brass Head, Obalufon by Wale Kalabi. Witch King by Martha Wells.
And the Nebula Award goes to Vajra Chandrasekhara for The Saint of Bright Doors.
Hello, I'm Vajra Chandrasekhara, and if this video is being played, that means my book somehow won. It's difficult to anticipate such a thing in advance, so I won't. I will instead imagine this video as science fiction, an alternate future in which I have your undivided attention for 2 minutes. I will be brief. You are writers and readers. Many of us are about as plugged in as anybody on Earth. It is 2024 and we are all extremely online. That means we have seen the footage, heard the numbers, read the news. You know how much depth is in the room with us. Apart from what we might do as individuals or as members of our communities in response to the Israeli genocide in Palestine, there are also things we can do as writers. We can make better art. We can pay attention to these uses of fantasies and speculations, of utopias and destinies. We must critique them on the page and in the world. As artists who work in the same realm of rhetorics, we have a responsibility of sabotage. We can pressure our institutions to endorse PACB, if they haven't already, the Palestinian Campaign for the Academic and Cultural Boycott of Israel, and thereby justify their own continued existence. We can use whatever platforms we have while we have them. We can ask people to donate to the Gaza municipality's fundraiser at nogaza.org to repair essential infrastructure and provide people with water, and to the many smaller but equally desperate fundraisers being boosted by Gaza Funds at gazafunds.com. We can engage with the work done by Writers Against the War in Gaza, by Book Workers for a Free Palestine, and by the Gaza Poets Society. If you haven't already, please seek out these groups and others like them. They are where the bloodied heart of literature is in this hour, and they need you. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your love for my book. I am honored.
The moment Fetter is born, Mother of Glory pins his shadow to the earth with a large brass nail and tears it from him. This is his first memory, the seed of many hours of therapy to come. It is raining. His shadow is cast upon reddish soil thick with clay that clings to Fetter as he rolls in it, unable to raise his head, saved from drowning in mud only by the fortunate angle of his landing. The arch of Mother of Glory's knee frames what he sees next. His shadow writhes slowly on its nail. Mother of Glory dips her hands in that mud to gather up the ropey shadow of his umbilical cord and throttles his severed shadow with a quick loop, pulled tight. The shadow goes to its end in silence, or if it cries out, if shadows can cry out, that sound is lost in the rain. The next hours and years are lost to Fetter.
Through our craft, creators around the world have always fought to highlight and combat the evils that surround us, battling the darkness, by providing hope and light through the stories we tell. In the spirit of peace, we ask that everyone take a brief moment of reflection to honor the pain, the loss, and the light within this community, this incredible family of science fiction and fantasy creators. Thank you all.
What a night we've had. We've celebrated dragons and Barbie and old gods and new. We've flown through outer space, we've shot the moon, we've reformed planets and purple-haired girls, and riding with outlaws we've met demons and mammoths and bright and bad doors. With amethyst lanterns, we've shapeshifted across the Spider-Verse with honor. We waited a long, long time to celebrate this moment, but it flew by in a dragon's breath. Tonight, we are travelers, singing Saturday's song. But our stories are not all starshine. They are wrapped in grief and loss, as we are haunted by ghosts and spirits and cranes and guns. In our memories, the world seems to have been different once, doesn't it? We look back and think home used to be safer and grief used to be lighter. But maybe that's just a story we tell ourselves in our years without untethered sunshine. So what do we do when we're lost and we can't find our way like Alan Wake? We write our way out. We battle algorithms and alphabets. We try to understand what it means to be human, to be a person in a world of AI, mimicking our known successes. Are we the chair or the carpenter? I don't know, but I do know that when you approach the thorn hedge or the tower, when you see outside your window, when you begin to tell the story in your own words, you are not alone. Your party is never too full. You travel with herons and Tanti and daughters and brothers and demons and, hopefully a demon named Karlach. Bring courage and charisma with you. It's not all a gambit. We dredge the depths of our stories. We walk in nebulas, and like the bread, we too will rise. Now, as we wrap up tonight's evening, I can already see the lights shining in this room. Some of those lights are held by volunteers, others by staff, some by finalists and winners and families and friends and fans, and all of you make SFWA what it is. Thank you for making our world brighter. If you're part of the Nebula Conference, you can join us in 5 minutes online or in the hospitality suite for karaoke and connections. But remember, the journey does not end here. We celebrated the power of stories tonight and the journeys they can take us on. We know that when we leave our campfire, our travels won't always be easy. Sometimes, though, we can create our own lights and find our own way. And sometimes we have the honor and joy of carrying candles for our friends. As Susan Cooper said, the dark is rising, but so is the light. My friends, tonight and tomorrow And in all the futures from here until forever, we will seek out new campfires in the deep expanse of night. We will carry our fires with us, burning with passion and anger and rage and sorrow and love, fucking love. And when we get there, my friends, when we get there, imagine the stories we will share together in all our courage and all our principles. I cannot wait to walk into the face of the darkness and meet your light with mine. Thank you, and good night, and fuck fascism.